Hey guys, welcome back to Foundflix. We just got back from seeing The Conjuring 2, just came out this weekend, and it was quite a spook fest. As you can see, I have an empty chair next to me. That's right, I'm not going to be by myself this time. I brought a friend along, and here he is, the man of respectable size. It's Paul! So you might recognize Paul from two previous videos. He played my butler in my Ghostbusters video, and then also last week was a news reporter in the Cloverfield Lane. I'm sure that beyond him appearing in my videos, you have other accomplishments in your life. I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, divorced twice.
Nice. That's good. And you love him and leave him, right?
Yeah, that's
that's how it goes down.
That's what the court document says.
Fair enough. All right, but when it came to The Conjuring 2, what were you at, like a hype level of? Were you excited about it? Did you like the first Conjuring, or what were you thinking of going into this one?
I, like most people, I think I enjoyed the first one. Mm-hmm. It didn't, blow my socks off or anything, but I did like it. I wasn't super hyped for this one. I
thought the first one was pretty good. I liked it and everything, and it was creative and whatever, but was surprised to see how much positive reviews this movie was actually getting, and maybe want to see it as quickly as possible, see what it was all about. One element that I do really like about the first movie, and this one does that also, is kind of utilizing the classic 70s aesthetic, but it's still like more a high dollar version of that, and I think that has a big impact on making them more interesting and kind of more event horror films, and I don't really think there's a lot of those nowadays.
No, definitely not.
So for those of you that don't know the actual plot of this movie, it follows these, couple that's a paranormal investigator team. They are very well renowned in their time. They've worked on thousands of cases, and that's why basically this time their case brings them to London, and that's sort of why I started considering this the Shanghai Nights of the Conjuring series. Basically the Warrens go to London. There's another, haunting or whatever, and they've got to investigate it. There's only one people you can call when it comes down to it.
Who is it?
The Warrens, I guess.
Is who you're gonna call.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
No one else would really fit the bill nowadays.
No.
I wouldn't think so, at least.
Certainly not this year.
Yeah, not this year. Not around July 15th. That's when we know to stay away.
Yeah, Enfield.
Yes, the Enfield Haunting.
I've heard of before. I've heard that name a lot. It is actually a famous case. I didn't know it was linked to the Warrens, but I've heard that name, plenty of times in the last decade.
Sure. I didn't really. They always say it's based on a true story. I'm not sure what basis there really was, or how much they fabricated in the original stories as well. That's hard to say, but
yeah,
it just seems kind of almost pointless to include that in the movie. We know most of this shit couldn't have possibly happened.
Well, there was no crooked man.
That's true.
Dancing around.
We'll get to the crooked man. That was definitely a strange element to the movie. Very odd, but still pretty cool.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, similar to the first movie, Conjuring 2 starts with the end of another big case from their career, and this time it was the Amityville horror, I guess, or whatever, the haunting of that whole thing. And I love the intro a lot. It's Vera Farmiga. I always say her, even on my base motel, someone was like, "You said her name wrong," and sent me a clip. So I'm just gonna play that clip now of how to say it correctly. Farmiga.
Vera Farmiga.
I always thought it was a soft G, or with Farmiga. I was wrong. The opening scene, or opening sequence, like I was saying, it's tied into Amityville, and basically Vera Farmiga's, my God!
Farmiga.
See, and now I'm thinking about it, and I'm saying it wrong, and there's no escape from it.
F-A-R.
Her character is sort of like a psychic of some kind, you know what I mean? And we see more use of her powers in that opening, with her actually occupying the body of the killer, and I thought that sequence was really cool and interesting, an exciting way to start the movie. But then what I started noticing, and what Paul and I were talking about earlier, was how it's an actual formula to the scare. So it was weird seeing that, because you would know what to expect after knowing the formula, seeing it once, basically.
It still got you, but you kind of knew, well, based on it was even just the cinematography. You knew person's here, framed a certain way, camera, nothing behind them. Yeah, camera gets distracted by maybe a loud bang over here to sort of throw you off. Camera whips back, and 9 out of 10 times,
there's
somebody
somebody with
is
a
gonna be
white face
Yeah,
standing behind him.
evil nun or something.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, one of the things that it's what's so effective with like the cinematography with the first movie is that it's very kind of flowing movement to the shots a lot. And that's something that it seems like with this one, he kind of went overboard with that, where it's like the idea of the lingering shot, and it's that tension is building by not breaking away. We're just staying on this shot, and then eventually, you know, a little train rolls back or whatever, and then you're like, oh man, you know, 45 seconds of staying on somebody's face, and then finally something happens, and it's a formula to it.
Well, especially since the first hour of the movie was just basically, aside from stuff with the Warrens, and even because half of the movie they're in the U.S. doing something
they've kind of got their own stuff.
But even that
on.
had scares. But it was basically you would either see some characters or stuff with the Warrens, jump back to Enfield,
right?
Set up a long-winded scare to
yeah.
jump back to them. For the first hour,
right,
literally.
Well, that's again. They followed the same exact setup of the first one, where a lot of it is just. I mean, it's a good thing that they spend the time developing the characters, but they were able to do it more concisely, I guess, in the first one versus this. It just didn't really work as well. I don't think. We were talking about this too. That it's because it takes place in England, jolly old England or whatever. The first scene that you're introduced to the Enfield family is very
English.
Very English, yeah.
English.
And then it feels like you were going into like Oliver Twist or something.
Well, it's like one of the little kids is calling the other one a wanker within
That's
the first,
true.
like, 30
yeah,
seconds.
bloody hell, all the time.
I mean, very much so.
Yeah, and it was just didn't quite ring as true the first time, but and they really only developed one of the kids a lot. I felt like the main girl that was possessed.
Kind of the main character of the movie.
That's true. She really did have a lot more going on than anyone else, and still didn't really have she didn't really grow as a character.
No,
she just kind of
really.
got put into different sequences and just kind of was done after a while.
She acted the hell out of it.
She did a really good job.
But yeah, there wasn't. I mean, it was just little girl getting terrorized over and over, and no one can do anything to help her.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Again, the movie is over 2 hours long, and as soon as I saw that it was 2 hours and 14 minutes, I knew that, as I was talking about the kind of lingering shots, that this movie was going to be overkill with that. It's like really taking everything from the first one and trying to crank it up in a typical kind of sequel style. And it still is effective. I mean, it wasn't a bad movie by any means, but it was still just kind of interesting when you could compare it to the first one and see where they obviously were like, okay, here's stuff that people liked from the first one, and then try to crank it up. And even, I don't know how many times that there was like back to the formula of scares, but somebody knocks on the door and then there's nobody there, and it's just like, how many times can you really do that?
I think the answer is 15 to 20 times.
As many times as it continues to be profitable. That's what it boils down to. I mean, it was interesting too. It sort of felt like they made Ed especially into like a superhero in this movie.
Yeah.
There are so many times when he encounters a closed door and he just will not stand for that. He just always is just like, boom. I think he does punch it open once. I'm pretty sure he did.
So.
I think that he did actually punch it open. It took a few punches.
Yeah.
But it was just like, like, I'm entering now. Nothing stops Ed.
Yeah.
Ed Warren. They do spend a lot more time with those characters, the two, Warrens, and I do think that was a smart move. I mean, I actually think that even they've done so many cases that it would be pretty easy to make this into kind of as I was talking about before, like an Indiana Jones-esque franchise, but with these investigators, and like each time it's a different adventure, you know what I mean? They seem to have enough cases to do it, I guess.
I mean, I think that's exactly what they're doing, to be completely honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I like that aspect to it, because there's not really any other franchise style, horror series that's around now that, again, has a real budget to it, that's so like kind of well done visually, and has a lot of thought put into it. But yeah, I still think that, I mean, I guess they made a full Annabelle movie, which was absolutely garbage. Please don't watch it. Don't let yourself do that. But I would still like to see the full Amityville horror movie. I mean, I think that they should do that. It should include the Warrens, not the time.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that's what. It's just a black screen for a while, and then it's just like Rent Amityville Horror starring Deadpool. That'll probably sell DVDs though, I would think.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, you were already talking about that a little bit. I mean, one of the things from the movie is there's not really a coherent plot. It's more about just kind of going between these sequences, and then eventually the Warrens end up in the UK. But even that's, you know, it had to have been at least 45 minutes before they actually were brought over to the UK, right? I mean, I would think, if not an hour, or
it was at least 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say a lot of people don't really go into movies like this for the plot. You could say,
Yeah.
and lack of plot or kind of coherence of plot, like, so whatever you want to say, that, you know, the villain is whatever it is, the entity, you don't, I honestly still don't quite know what it was going for, because you brought up something involving Ed Warren and the nun demon thing, and how it may.
Hey guys, I'm sorry I had to break this video up into 2 parts, but I have a copyright strike on my account, so I can't upload longer videos. Make sure to click below for part 2. Thanks for watching!